I tell you with complete certainty, the thing you have been seeking is, at this very moment, seeking you. The desire that burns within your heart was planted there by the divine, and that same divinity is now orchestrating all events, all circumstances, all seeming obstacles, to deliver unto you the perfect expression of that desire. Let us begin with the fundamental truth, a truth that many of you have heard me speak of before, but which bears repeating, for it is the foundation upon which all manifestation rests. You are God, not a part of God, not a creation separate from God, but God individualized. I and my Father are one, said the greatest teacher who ever walked this earth. He did not say, I and my Father are two, working together. No, he claimed complete unity with the divine power that creates and sustains all things. And what is God? God is your own wonderful human imagination. That is the creative power in the universe. There is no other God. When you imagine a state and assume the feeling of that state is already realized, you are literally God in action, creating the conditions and events that must follow from that state. So when I tell you that everything you've been waiting for is coming, I am not speaking of some vague future possibility. I am speaking of an absolute law, as certain as gravity, as reliable as the rising of the sun. The law of assumption states that if you assume you are what you want to be, and continue in that assumption, it must harden into fact in your outer world. Consider for a moment the things you've been waiting for. Perhaps it's financial abundance, a loving relationship perfect to a mission for your talents, or a sense of the purpose and fulfillment. Whatever it may be, know this, the mere fact that you can conceive of these things means they already exist in what we might call the fourth dimensional reality, the realm of imagination, which is the very substance of God. Your task then is not to make these things happen through effort and struggle. Your task is to transfer your consciousness from where you are to where you desire to be. You must mentally live in your wish fulfilled. You must, through the controlled use of your imagination, assume the feeling of already being the person who has what you desire. Let me share with you a secret that has transformed countless lives. Feeling is the secret. It is not enough to merely visualize what you want or to affirm it with your lips. You must capture and maintain the feeling of already having it. For feeling is the language that speaks to the subconscious, and the subconscious is the creative power that shapes your world. Now, some of you may be thinking, but Neville, I have tried this, and my desire has not materialized. To you I say this, revision is necessary. You must go back and revise the experiences that have convinced you of lack, of impossibility, of unworthiness. For as long as those beliefs persist in your subconscious, they will continue to project themselves into your world. Tonight I invite you to a new practice. When you return to your home, sit quietly in your room. Close your eyes and ask yourself, what is it that I truly desire? Allow the answer to come from the depths of your being. Then, with your eyes still closed, construct a scene in your imagination that would imply the fulfillment of that desire. Perhaps it is a friend congratulating you, or simply the feeling of deep satisfaction and contentment that would accompany your desire's fulfillment. Now enter that scene. Make it as real as possible in your imagination. See the colors, hear the sounds, feel the textures, and most importantly, feel the emotions that would be yours in that moment of fulfillment. Feel the gratitude, the joy, the peace, the love. Feel it so intensely that when you open your eyes, a part of you knows with unshakable certainty that what you have imagined is now in the process of becoming your physical reality. Do this night after night, and you will be preparing yourself for the manifestation that is already on its way to you. For make no mistake, my dear friends, the law is always working. Just as the law of gravity operates, whether you believe in it or not, the law of assumption is constantly shaping your experience according to the state you have assumed. Now let us speak of preparation. How does one prepare for the arrival of their heart's desire? First, by understanding the nature of time. In this three-dimensional world, events seem to unfold sequentially, creating the illusion of past, present, and future. But in the fourth dimension, in the realm of imagination, all possible states exist simultaneously. When you enter a state in your imagination, you are actually selecting one of these already existing states and bringing it into your three-dimensional experience. The time it takes for your imagined state to materialize in your physical reality is directly proportional to the naturalness of the state you've assumed. This is why feeling is so crucial. The more naturally you can feel yourself to be the person who already has what you desire, the more rapidly that desire will clothe itself in still form. So preparation begins with cultivating patience and faith. Patience because seed time and harvest is a law of nature. You cannot plant a seed and expect it to bear fruit the same day. And faith because you must trust the process even when your senses deny the reality of your assumption. I have witnessed countless manifestations in my own life and in the lives of those who have applied this law. Let me share with you a story that illustrates this principle. A gentleman once came to me in dire financial straits. He had lost his business, was deeply in debt, and could see no way out of his predicament. I instructed him to imagine just before sleep each night that he was counting out large sums of money, feeling the crisp beat between his fingers, and experiencing the relief and joy of financial abundance. 2 weeks passed, and nothing changed in his outer circumstances. 3 weeks and still nothing. But he persisted in his imaginal act. Then, at the end of the month, he received a phone call from a former business associate whom he had not spoken to in years. This associate proposed a partnership that, within 6 months, restored my friend to a state of financial prosperity, far exceeding what he had known before. This is the law in operation. The seed was planted in imagination, it grew in the darkness of the subconscious, and it manifested in perfect time through channels that the conscious mind could never have conceived. So I say to you, everything you've been waiting for is coming. It is already on its way. But you must prepare yourself by living from the end, by occupying the state of consciousness that would be yours if your desire were already fulfilled. Now there's another aspect of preparation that I must address, and it is perhaps the most important of all. You must be willing to let go of your old concept of self. For many of you, the person you believe yourself to be is intimately tied to the circumstances you currently experience. To manifest a new reality, you must be willing to become a new self. This is the true meaning of death and rebirth. It is not the physical body that must die, but rather the old concept of self. You must die to your present self-concept to be reborn as the self that is aligned with your desire. This can be challenging, for the ego resists change. It clings to the familiar, even when the familiar is painful or limiting. But I assure you, this death is not to be feared, for what awaits you on the other side is the fulfillment of all that you have ever dreamed. Let me be very clear about this law of assumption. It is not mere positive thinking or wishful fantasizing. It is the deliberate use of your imagination to select and occupy a state of consciousness. When this is done with feeling and persistence, the outer world must rearrange itself to reflect your inner reality. Think of it this way. Your consciousness is like a radio dial. On that dial are infinite stations, each one broadcasting a different version of reality. The station you are tuned to right now is broadcasting your current life circumstances. To change those circumstances, you must tune the dial to a different station, one that is broadcasting the reality you desire to experience. The tuning is done through your imagination, guided by feeling. When you imagine a scene that implies the fulfillment of your desire, and when you feel the emotions that such fulfillment bring, you are turning the dial to a new station. Persist in this new frequency, and your outer world will shift to match it. Now some of you may wonder about the role of action in this process. Must you not also take action to realize your desires? The truth is that inspired action will flow naturally from your changed consciousness. When you genuinely assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you will find yourself naturally doing the things that someone in that state would do. Moreover, doors will open that were previously closed to you. Opportunities will present themselves that your logical mind could never have devised. People will be drawn to you who can assist in the manifestation of your desire. All of this happens not because you are forcing it through willpower, but because you have changed your state of consciousness, and your outer world must conform to that inner change. Let me give you another illustration from my own experience. Many years ago, I desired to travel to Barbados to visit my family. However, I had no money for passage, and the wartime restrictions make civilian travel difficult. Rather than focusing on these obstacles, I went to sleep each night imagining that I was sleeping in my childhood home in Barbados. I could feel the tropical breeze, hear the familiar sounds, and experience the joy of being with my loved ones. Within a few weeks, I received a letter from my brother containing money for passage, and shortly thereafter, I was granted a spot on a ship bound for Barbados, despite the wartime restrictions on civilian travel. The outer circumstances rearranged themselves to match my inner assumption. This is the promise I make to you tonight. Whatever you have been waiting for, be it love, wealth, health, or any other desire of your heart, it is coming to you now. But you must prepare yourself by assuming the feeling of its fulfillment, by living from the state of consciousness of having already received it. Let us delve deeper into this preparation, for it is multifaceted and requires a certain discipline of mind. The first aspect of preparation is mental. You must clean the windows of your mind, clear away the accumulated dust of limiting beliefs and negative assumptions. Begin by watching your thoughts and the words you speak. Are they aligned with your desire or do they contradict it? Do you affirm abundance while secretly harboring thoughts of lack? Do you speak of health while dwelling on symptoms of illness? This divided mind cannot manifest effectively. As it is written, a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. To prepare your mind, practice what I call mental dieting. Just as you would carefully select the food you put into your body for optimal health, so must you carefully select the thoughts you allow to dwell in your mind. Feed your mind with thoughts of the wish fulfilled. Starve your mind of thoughts that contradict your desire. When negative thoughts arise, and they will, for the old habits of mind do not surrender easily, do not fight them or suppress them. Simply observe them without judgment, and then deliberately replace them with thoughts that support your new assumption. The second aspect of preparation is emotional. As I have emphasized, feeling is the secret. You must cultivate the emotional state that would be yours if your desire were already fulfilled. This requires emotional discipline and awareness. Many of you live in a constant state of emotional reaction to external circumstances. Something happens, and you react with anger, fear, disappointment, or resentment. This reactive pattern keeps you bound to your current reality. To break free, you must become the master of your emotional state, choosing it deliberately rather than having it dictated by circumstances. Practice feeling the emotions of your wish fulfilled, regardless of what your senses report. Feel the security of financial abundance, even when your bank account is empty. Feel the love and companionship of a harmonious relationship, even when you appear to be alone. Feel the vitality and energy of perfect health, even when your body seems to contradict this. The third aspect of preparation is spiritual. By this, I do not mean religious in the conventional sense, but rather the recognition of your true identity as a spiritual being, as God individualized in human form. The greatest barrier to manifesting your desires is the belief in separation, the belief that you are separate from your good, separate from other people, separate from God. This belief in separation is the root of all fear, all lack, all conflict. To prepare spiritually is to embrace the truth of your oneness with all that is. It is to recognize that the power that created the universe is not outside of you, but within you, expressing as you. It is your very consciousness, your awareness, your I am. When you truly understand this, you will no longer beg or plead for your good to come to you from some external source. You will know that all that you desire already exists within you as a state of consciousness, waiting to be assumed and expressed. The fourth aspect of preparation is physical. Your physical body and environment are the densest, most external expressions of your consciousness. As such, they often lag behind your mental and emotional shifts. This is why patience is necessary. However, you can support the manifestation process by bringing your physical environment into alignment with your assumption. Clear out the clutter that represents your old life. Create space for the new to enter. Dress, speak, and carry yourself as the person who already has what you desire. This is not pretense or fakery. It is the outer expression of an inner conviction. It is living from the end, embodying the state you wish to manifest. Now let us address a question that often arises: what about the desires of others? What if what you want conflicts with what someone else wants? Remember this: in the realm of true creation, there is no competition, no scarcity, no conflict of interests. When you operate from the level of the imagination, which is the level of God, you are not taking from anyone else. You are selecting from the infinite variety of already existing states. Moreover, when you assume a state of consciousness that includes harmonious relationships and mutual benefit, that is what you will experience. If you assume a state of having what you want at the expense of others, that conflict will manifest in your experience. This is why I advocate assuming states of consciousness that embody the highest good for all concerned. Imagine not only your own joy and fulfillment, but also the joy and fulfillment of everyone involved in your manifestation. Let me share with you another principle that will help you in preparing for the arrival of your desire. It is the principle of detachment, or what some might call letting go. Many of you hold on to your desires with such desperation, such anxiety about whether or when they will manifest, that you actually push them away. This anxious attachment comes from the belief that what you want is separate from you and might elude your grasp. True manifestation requires a certain detachment, not from the desire itself, but from the anxious need to control the timing and the means of its fulfillment. When you have truly assumed the state of the wish fulfilled, you can relax in the certainty that the outer reality must conform to your inner assumption in its own perfect time and way. This detachment is not indifference. It is the quiet confidence that comes from knowing the law and trusting its operation. It is the peace of mind that allows you to get on with your daily life, secure in the knowledge that your new reality is already established in consciousness and is now moving toward you in the world of form. Now I want to address something that many of you struggle with: the appearance of obstacles or delays in the manifestation of your desire. When your outer world seems to contradict your inner assumption, it is easy to become discouraged and to doubt the law. But I tell you this, what appears as an obstacle or delay is often the very means by which your desire will be fulfilled. The bridge of incidents that leads to your manifestation may include elements that, to your limited perspective, seem to be taking you further away from your goal. This is where faith becomes essential, not blind faith in some external power, but faith in the law, faith in the creative power of your own consciousness. Trust that the seed you have planted in the garden of your mind is growing, even when you cannot yet see the sprout above the soil. And remember this, the manifestation always comes in ways that you could not have planned with your conscious mind. If you try to dictate exactly how your desire should manifest, you limit the infinite intelligence that is orchestrating the perfect unfoldment of your assumption. So release all anxiety about the how and the when. Your job is to maintain the state of consciousness of the wish fulfilled. The law will take care of the rest, bringing your desire to you through the path of least resistance, which may not be the path you would have consciously chosen. Let me give you yet another example from my own experience. There was a time when I desired to be invited to speak at a certain prestigious venue. Rather than focusing on all the reasons why this seemed unlikely, I simply imagined hearing the director of the venue introducing me to the audience. I felt the satisfaction and gratitude of this experience in my imagination. A few weeks passed, and I received no invitation. Then, seemingly unrelated to my desire, I was invited to speak at a small gathering in a private home. I accepted, though it appeared to have nothing to do with my original wish. At this gathering was a guest who, unknown to me, was a close friend of the director of the prestigious venue I had imagined speaking at. This guest was so moved by my talk that they recommended me to the director, and within a month I received the invitation I had imagined. Had I been fixated on a direct invitation coming from the director, I might have declined the seemingly insignificant invitation to speak at the private home, thereby missing the bridge of insights that was leading to the fulfillment of my desire. This is why I counsel you to release all preconceptions about how your good will come to you. Trust the law, maintain your assumption, and allow the infinite intelligence to work out the details. Now, as we approach the close of our time together, I want to address one final aspect of preparation that is often overlooked but is absolutely crucial. It is the practice of gratitude. Gratitude is the feeling that completes the manifestation cycle. When you express gratitude for something, you are affirming its reality in your experience. Gratitude is the recognition that what you have asked for has already been given. Begin now to give thanks for the fulfillment of your desire, even before it appears in your three-dimensional reality. Thank your Father, which is your own magnificent human imagination, for having already granted your request. This is not pretense. It is recognition of the truth that in the fourth-dimensional reality, where your imagination dwells, your desire is already fulfilled. Your gratitude acknowledges this truth and helps to bring it into your three-dimensional experience. Make gratitude a daily practice. Each night before you sleep, review the day as if your desire had already been fulfilled. Feel the gratitude that such fulfillment would inspire. Let that feeling of gratitude be the last emotion you experience before drifting into sleep, for the subconscious is most receptive in those moments before slumber. And as you awaken each morning, let your first thought be one of gratitude for the fulfillment of your desire. In this way, you create a consciousness saturated with the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and this consciousness must externalize itself in your world. My dear friends, I have shared with you tonight the truth that everything you've been waiting for is coming to you now. I have explained the law by which this manifestation occurs, the law of assumption, and I have outlined the ways in which you can prepare yourself to receive your heart's desire. Let me summarize these principles once more, that they may be firmly established in your understanding. First, know that you are God individualized. The creative power of the universe is your own human imagination. Second, to manifest your desire, you must assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Feeling is the secret that speaks to the subconscious, which is the creative power. Third, prepare yourself mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically for the manifestation of your desire. Live from the end, embodying the state of consciousness that would be yours if your desire were already fulfilled. Fourth, release anxiety about the timing and the means of manifestation. Trust the law, knowing that the bridge of incidents is being built to bring your desire to you in divine order. Fifth, practice gratitude for the fulfillment of your desire, affirming its reality in the fourth dimension, which is the realm of imagination. As you leave this place tonight and return to your homes, I challenge you to put these principles into practice. Select one desire, the thing you want most at this moment, and begin to live as if it were already yours. Feel the emotions it would inspire. Express the gratitude it would evoke. Embody the state of consciousness it would create. Do this consistently, persistently, faithfully. And I promise you that your outer world will reshape itself to match your inner assumption. For this is the law, and the law is absolute. Everything you've been waiting for is coming to you now. Prepare yourself by becoming in consciousness the person who already has it. For what you are in consciousness, you must manifest in experience. The world is yourself pushed out. Change yourself and you change your world. This is the great secret, the great revelation, the great law by which all things come into being. Go now in the knowledge of your divinity, in the certainty of the law, and in the joyful expectation of the manifestation of all that your heart desires. For truly all things are possible to him who believes. Remember, creation is finished. All states exist now. Your task is not to create what you want, but to appropriate what already exists. And you do this through the assumption of the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Tonight, as you lay your head upon your pillow, I urge you to make this your practice. Enter into the silence of your own being. Construct a scene that would imply the fulfillment of your desire. Enter that scene. Make it real. Feel it. Believe it. Accept it as true. Fall asleep in that state. And watch as the power that is your own wonderful human imagination goes to work, reshaping your world to match your assumption. For the law is this: as within, so without. As above, so below. What you assume, you become. What you believe, you receive. What you expect, you experience. Everything you've been waiting for is coming. It is already yours in consciousness. Now, through your faithful assumption, it will become yours in experience. My blessing goes with you. May you use this law wisely, lovingly, and joyfully for the enrichment of your own life and the lives of all those you touch. The greatest secret, the most profound truth about how God introduces you to your soulmate is this: God does not introduce you to your soulmate at all, for God is you. And you are already creating this divine union in your imagination, whether you realize it or not. The true nature of God and your imagination. Let me begin by clarifying what I mean when I speak of God. I am not referring to some external deity sitting on a throne in the distant heavens, manipulating the circumstances of your life according to some mysterious plan. No. When I speak of God, I am referring to the divine presence that dwells within you, your own wonderful human imagination. Your imagination is God in action. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The word here is not some abstract concept, but the internal conversation you carry on with yourself day after day. It is this inner conversation, this use of your divine imagination, that is creating every circumstance in your life, including the arrival of your soulmate. You see, most people have it entirely backward. They believe that God, as some external force, will somehow orchestrate the perfect meeting with their ideal partner when the time is right. They wait and they pray and they hope, looking outward for signs, when all along the creative power lies within them. They are waiting for a God outside themselves to perform an act that only the God within them, their own wonderful human imagination, can perform. The LA and the promise. There are two aspects to this divine operation, what I call the law and the promise. The law is this: imagining creates reality. Whatever you assume to be true, whatever you feel to be real while in a state akin to sleep, that is, while your attention is focused exclusively on your inner world, must objectify itself in your outer world. This is not some metaphysical speculation, but a principle as reliable as gravity. It cannot fail. The promise is that you will awaken to the realization that you are God, the sole creator of your life experience. When it comes to your soulmate, Both the law and the promise are at work. Through the law, you can manifest the specific relationship your heart desires. Through the promise, you will eventually realize that this outer relationship is but a reflection of an inner union that has already taken place. The creative power of imagination. Now, let us explore how this creative power, your imagination, actually works to bring your soulmate into your life. Most people think that what they observe in their world is the cause of what they feel. They believe that when they finally meet the right one, then they will feel love, complete, fulfilled. But this is completely backward. Feeling is the secret. Feeling is not the result of having found your soulmate. Feeling is the cause that brings your soulmate to you. Let me repeat that. Feeling is not the effect. Feeling is the cause. You must first generate within yourself the feeling that would naturally follow having already met and united with your soulmate. You must live from the end. What does it feel like to be in the perfect relationship? Is it a feeling of security, of passion, of being completely understood, of peaceful companionship? Whatever that feeling is for you, you must capture it and dwell in it, knowing that this feeling is the creative force that will rearrange the circumstances of your life to match it. But you might ask, Neville, how can I feel that which has not yet happened? And I would answer, your imagination is the bridge. Through the controlled use of your imagination, you can experience now what your senses deny. This is the true meaning of faith, the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen, living from the end. Here is the practical application of what I am telling you tonight as you lie in your bed. Quiet your mind and body until you reach that drowsy, sleepy state just before sleep claims you. In this state, construct a scene that implies you have already found and united with your soulmate. Perhaps you imagine lying beside them, feeling their presence, their warmth. Perhaps you imagine introducing them to a friend or family member, hearing yourself say, I'd like you to meet my husband, wife. Perhaps you imagine celebrating an anniversary, looking back on years of joy spent together. Whatever scene you choose, it must imply that the relationship is already a fact. And as you construct this scene, involve all your senses. Feel the warmth of their embrace, hear their voice, smell their scent, see their smile. Make it as real as possible in your imagination. And most importantly, capture and intensify the feeling that this scene evokes within you. Then, as you drift off to sleep, carry this feeling with you. Let it be the last thing in your consciousness as sleep claims you. For it is this feeling impressed upon your subconscious mind that will work night and day to bring about its physical equivalent in your world, the Sabbath. And once you have performed this imaginative act, you must enter what the Bible calls the Sabbath. The Sabbath is not a day of the week, but a state of consciousness. It is a state of complete rest, where you cease from all effort, knowing that what you have imagined must come to pass. To enter the Sabbath means to live as though your desire has already been fulfilled. You don't continue to ask or beg or plead for your soulmate to appear, for that would imply they are absent. Instead, you give thanks for their presence in your life, even though your senses may not yet confirm it. This is perhaps the most difficult part for most people. They perform the imaginative act, and then they look to the world for confirmation. When they don't see immediate results, they become anxious, doubtful, and begin the whole process again, never allowing the seed they have planted to grow to full manifestation. But I tell you this, God's promises are yes and amen. What you have conceived in your imagination, with feeling, must objectify itself in your world. It is law, but you must give it time to unfold according to its own pattern, its own rhythm. You must remain faithful to your imaginative act, persisting in the assumption that what you have imagined is already done. Your inner conversations. Now, let me speak about something that many of you may not have considered: your inner conversations. Throughout the day, you are constantly talking to yourself, carrying on internal dialogues. These inner conversations are powerful creative forces. When it comes to your soulmate, what is the nature of your inner conversation? You tell yourself, I'll never find the right person. You rehearse past disappointments and project them into your future. Do you constantly question why you are still alone? If so, you are using your creative power, the God within you, to perpetuate the very state you wish to escape. Instead, revise your inner conversation to align with your desire. Speak to yourself as though your soulmate is already part of your life. Let your inner voice say, I am so grateful for the love we share, or how wonderful it is to be so perfectly matched. Make these new thought patterns a habit, and you will be amazed at how quickly your external reality begins to shift. Remember, your consciousness is the only reality. The world you experience is simply consciousness objectified. Change your consciousness through your controlled imagination and revised inner conversations, and you change your world. The bridge of incidents. Now, when you have properly impressed your subconscious mind with the feeling of your wish fulfilled, a bridge of incidents will form to lead you to the physical realization of your desire. This bridge of incidents is a series of apparently causally connected events that lead to the manifestation of your desire. You need not be concerned with how this bridge will form. That is not your responsibility. Your responsibility is only to remain faithful to the feeling of the wish fulfilled. The infinite intelligence within you, which is God, knows how to bring about the perfect circumstances to unite you with your soulmate. It may not happen in the way you expect. In fact, it rarely does. You may meet this person in the most unlikely place, under the most unusual circumstances. What appears to be a chance encounter will be revealed in retrospect as part of an intricate and perfect plan that was set in motion the moment you impressed your subconscious mind with the feeling of your wish fulfilled. This is how God, your own wonderful human imagination, introduces you to your soulmate. Not through external manipulation of events, but through the internal manipulation of consciousness, which then objectifies itself as the perfect series of events leading to your divine union. Recognizing your soulmate. Many wonder how they will recognize their soulmate when they appear. They fear they might miss the divine appointment or mistake someone else for their true match. But I tell you this, when you have properly used your imagination to impress the feeling of the wish fulfilled upon your subconscious mind, recognition will be automatic and mutual. For what you are really doing through this process is not so much attracting a specific person as you are attracting a specific state of consciousness. As you dwell in the feeling of having already found your perfect match, you are vibrating at the frequency of that fulfilled relationship. And only someone who is vibrating at that same frequency can come into your experience as a permanent fixture. This is why false relationships so often fail. When we try to make someone fit our idea of the perfect partner without having first established within ourselves the consciousness of the perfect relationship, we are working against the law, not with it. Your soulmate is not so much a specific individual as they are the perfect embodiment of the state of consciousness you have established within yourself. Change your consciousness, and you change who can appear in your world as a match. The naturalness of the process. I want to emphasize the naturalness of this process. When you have successfully impressed your subconscious mind with the feeling of your wish fulfilled, the manifestation of your soulmate will unfold in the most natural way imaginable. There will be no strain, no struggle. It will not feel like a miracle, though in retrospect, you may marvel at the perfect orchestration of events that brought you together. This is because the outer world is a mirror reflecting back to you your own consciousness. When your consciousness is filled with the feeling of having already found your soulmate, the mirror must reflect that back to you in the form of an actual relationship. It cannot do otherwise, for that is the law. So do not look for signs or omens or synchronicities. Do not try to force meetings or manipulate circumstances. Simply dwell in the consciousness of the wish fulfilled and let the law do its perfect work. The signs and synchronicities will come of their own accord as confirmation, not as causes of the manifestation that is already underway. The importance of self-love. Now, there is an aspect of this process that is often overlooked but is absolutely crucial: self-love. For the state of consciousness that manifests your soulmate must include a deep and abiding love for yourself. Without this foundation, no lasting union is possible. Many seek a soulmate to fill a void within themselves, to complete what they perceive as lacking. But I tell you, from the state of lack, you can only create more lack. It is only from the state of wholeness that you can create a whole and fulfilling relationship. So before you enter into the imagination session I described earlier, first establish within yourself a feeling of self-completeness. Recognize that the God within you, your own wonderful human imagination, is the source of all love, all fulfillment. You are not seeking someone to complete you. You are seeking someone with whom to share your completeness. This shift in consciousness is subtle but profound. It changes the entire vibration of your being and attracts a completely different quality of relationship than the one sought from a place of lack or need. Revision of the past. For some of you, past relationships have left scars that make it difficult to imagine and feel the reality of a fulfilling soulmate connection. If this is the case, you must use the principle of revision to heal these wounds. Revision is the art of mentally rewriting past events to align with your desires. Before you can effectively impress upon your subconscious mind the feeling of a perfect soulmate relationship, You may need to revise the memories that contradict this new assumption. Each night before you enter into your imagination session, focused on your soulmate, take a few moments to revise any painful relationship memories. Reimagine them as you wish they had happened. Feel the relief, the joy, the closure that comes with this revised version. Do this consistently, and you will find that the emotional charge of these memories begins to fade, making room for your new assumptions about love and partnership to take root. The divine timing? Many of you may be wondering about timing. When will my soulmate appear? Is a question I hear often. But I must tell you that time is a concept that exists only in the world of effects, not in the world of causes. In the realm of imagination, which is the causal realm, there is no time. There is only the state of consciousness that you occupy. The appearance of your soulmate in your physical reality is subject to what the Bible calls the fullness of time. This means that the manifestation will occur when all the necessary components have aligned, when your consciousness is stable in the assumption of the wish fulfilled, when the bridge of incidents has been properly constructed, and when both you and your soulmate are vibrating at frequencies that allow for the divine union. This is not to say that manifestation must take a long time. I have witnessed cases where soulmates have appeared within days of a successful imaginative act. I have also seen cases where the manifestation took months or even years. The variable is not God's willingness to grant your desire for God. Your own wonderful human imagination has already granted it the moment you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. The variable is your ability to maintain that assumption consistently, without contradiction, until it hardens into fact. Testing the law. Well, I encourage you to test this law for yourself. Do not take my word for it. The Bible says, taste and see that the Lord is good. Experience for yourself the creative power of your own imagination. Tonight, as you lie in bed, construct the scene that implies you have already found and united with your soulmate. Feel the reality of it. Fall asleep in that feeling. Do this for 30 consecutive nights, without wavering, without looking for results, simply as an experiment in consciousness. At the end of those 30 days, you will have planted a seed in the fertile soil of your subconscious mind that must, by law, grow into the manifestation of your desire. And as you go through your days, revise your inner conversations to align with this new assumption. Speak to yourself as though your soulmate is already part of your life. Then release all anxiety about when or how they will appear. Enter the Sabbath, that state of complete rest, in the knowledge that what you have in mind must come to pass. Live as though your desire is already fulfilled. For in the realm of imagination, which is the only reality it is, the transformation of consciousness. What I am describing to you is not just a technique for manifesting a soulmate. It is a complete transformation of consciousness. As you apply these principles to this specific desire, you will find that your entire life begins to transform. For you cannot dwell in the consciousness of being loved, cherished, and perfectly matched without that consciousness spilling over into all areas of your life. Your relationships with family and friends will improve. Your work will become more fulfilling. Your health may even show signs of improvement. This is because you are aligning with the truth of your being, that you are God, expressing as the specific individual you perceive yourself to be. This transformation of consciousness is the real miracle, far more significant than the appearance of any specific person in your life. For when you realize that you are the operant power in your world, that your imagination creates reality, you are free from victim consciousness forever. You no longer see yourself as subject to external forces, waiting for fate or chance to bring you what you desire. You recognize yourself as the author of your experience, the creator of your destiny. And from this elevated state of consciousness, your soulmate appears not as someone who will save you or complete you, but as the perfect reflection of the divine love you have awakened within yourself. This is the true divine union, not the union of two incomplete halves, but the union of two whole beings who recognize in each other the God that they themselves are. The persistence of faith. I must speak now about the importance of persistence, for many of you will begin this practice with great enthusiasm, only to abandon it when results do not immediately appear. This is the pattern I have observed in countless students over the years. They start with conviction but lack the persistence to see their desires through to manifestation. Faith is not a momentary surge of belief. It is the persistent occupation of the desired state. It is the unwavering confidence that what you have imagined and felt as real in your imagination must objectify itself in your physical reality. This kind of faith is rare, but it is the key to successful manifestation. When doubts arise, and they will arise, do not fight them or deny them. Simply observe them, and then gently return to the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Each time you successfully return to that feeling despite contrary evidence, you strengthen the impression on your subconscious mind, bringing the manifestation closer. Remember the story of the fig tree in the Bible. Jesus cursed it, and it appeared unchanged. But he did not doubt his word. He continued on his way, confident that what he had decreed must come to pass. And when they passed by the fig tree again, it had withered from the roots. This is the model of perfect faith, speaking the word and then proceeding in the absolute confidence that it will manifest regardless of appearances. The role of gratitude. As you walk this path toward the manifestation of your soulmate, let gratitude be your constant companion. Gratitude is the highest vibration, the most magnetic attitude of mind. When you are grateful for your soulmate before they physically appear, you are functioning at the highest spiritual level. Each night as you perform your imaginative scene, conclude it with deep and sincere gratitude. Thank God, your own wonderful human imagination, for having already granted your desire. Feel the gratitude that naturally accompanies the receipt of something precious and long desired. This attitude of gratitude accelerates manifestation because it affirms that what you have imagined is already yours. It closes the gap between your desire and its fulfillment, bringing them together in the eternal now. The signs following. Although I have cautioned you against looking for signs, it is natural that as your manifestation approaches physical realization, certain signs will begin to appear. You may find yourself randomly thinking about love and relationships more often. You may notice happy couples everywhere you go. You may even have dreams of your soulmate before you meet them physically. These signs are not the cause of your manifestation, but the effects of your changed consciousness. They are confirmations that the bridge of incidents is under construction. Welcome them, but do not become attached to them. They are signposts along the way, not the destination itself. And when your soulmate does appear in your life, it will seem so natural, so perfect, that you may temporarily forget the imaginative work you did to bring them to you. This too is part of the process. For the law works best when it seems not to be working at all, when manifestation appears to be the result of natural causes rather than spiritual law. But in quiet moments of reflection, you will recognize the truth that this divine union was orchestrated not by some external deity, but by the God within you, your own wonderful human imagination. And in this recognition lies a power and a freedom beyond anything you have previously known. The perfection of the Allah. I want to address a concern that many have expressed to me over the years. They worry that if they use their imagination to manifest a specific type of person as their soulmate, they might somehow interfere with free will or divine order. But this concern is based on a misunderstanding of the law. The law of assumption does not override anyone's free will. It simply draws to you the people and circumstances that align with your state of consciousness. Your soulmate is drawn to you by the same law that draws you to them. Their appearance in your life is as much their manifestation as it is yours. This is the perfect operation of divine law. You are not forcing anyone to be with you against their will. You are simply aligning yourself with the state of consciousness in which your soulmate is already present. And from that state, the law works to bring together those who are vibrating at compatible frequencies. So release all concerns about interfering with the natural order. There is no order more natural than that established by your own divine imagination. Trust in the perfection of the law and allow it to work its wonders in your life. The evolution of the relationship. Now, once your soulmate has appeared in your life, the work of imagination does not cease. For relationships are dynamic, evolving entities. The same law that brings you together will keep you in harmony and deepen your connection as you continue to use your imagination constructively. If challenges arise, as they do in even the most divinely orchestrated unions, return to your imagination. Construct scenes that imply the resolution of these challenges. Feel the relief, the renewed harmony and understanding. Fall asleep in this feeling and watch as your relationship transforms to match your imagined state. This ongoing use of imagination is the secret to a relationship that continues to grow and thrive through the years. For the law never ceases to operate. What you continue to imagine and feel as real will continue to objectify itself in your experience. The ultimate revelation. And now I come to the ultimate revelation about how God introduces you to your soulmate. The greatest secret is this: your soulmate is not outside you, but within you. The relationship you seek in the external world is but a reflection of a union that must first be consummated within your own being. In the deepest spiritual sense, your soulmate is your own divine nature seeking expression through relationship. The love you seek is your own love, reflected back to you through another. The companionship you desire is communion with the God within you, made tangible in the form of another person. When you fully realize this truth, you understand that the purpose of the soulmate relationship is not merely personal happiness, but spiritual awakening. Through the mirror of relationship, you come to know yourself as God, the creator of your reality. This is the ultimate purpose of all manifestation, all desire. So as you lie in bed tonight, constructing your scene that implies you have already found and united with your soulmate, know that you are doing far more than manifesting a relationship. You are participating in the greatest spiritual adventure possible, the discovery of your true divine nature through the perfect deflection of love. Conclusion, the promise fulfilled. I have shared with you tonight the law by which God, your own wonderful human imagination, introduces you to your soulmate. I have given you the practical steps to apply this law in your life. But beyond the law lies the promise that you will awaken to the realization that you are God, expressing as the specific individual you perceive yourself to be. This awakening is the true purpose of all desire, all manifestation. Your desire for soulmate is not merely a human longing for companionship. It is the divine within you seeking to know itself through relationship. As you use your imagination to manifest your soulmate, you are participating in this greater spiritual purpose. And when you look into the eyes of your beloved and recognize there the God that you yourself are, the circle is complete. The promise is fulfilled. You have not only found your soulmate, you have found yourself. You have experienced the truth of the ancient teaching, I am my beloved's, and my beloved is mine. This is the ultimate revelation about how God introduces you to your soulmate. God does not introduce you to someone outside yourself. God, your own wonderful human imagination, reveals to you the love that you are through the perfect mirror of relationship. Tonight, as you retire to your bed, remember that you are engaging in the most divine activity possible, the activity of creation. Through your imagination, you are bringing into being not just a relationship, but a new state of consciousness, a new understanding of who and what you truly are. Feel the reality of soulmate's presence. Fall asleep in that feeling, and know with absolute certainty that what you have felt as real in imagination must objectify itself in your world, for that is the law, and the law must fulfill itself. The God in you, your own wonderful human imagination, is introducing you to your soulmate right now. As you sit in this room, absorbing these words, the introduction is taking place not in the physical world, but in the world of imagination, which is the only reality. The physical manifestation must follow, for that is the nature of creation. Trust in the law, rest in the promise, and watch and wonder as the miracle of divine union unfolds in your life, revealing to you not only the perfect partner, but the perfect self, the God that you truly are. The power to completely revolutionize your life in ways you have never imagined possible. Consider for a moment the concept of time. You may perceive it as a linear progression, with change occurring gradually over days, weeks, or years. But I say unto you, true transformation, the kind that alters the very fabric of your reality, can occur in a single night, in a single moment of focused imagination and unwavering belief. But what does it truly mean to say that you will never be the same again after just one night? It is not a matter of external circumstances magically changing while you sleep. It is a state of consciousness, a shift in your very being that aligns you with the creative power of the universe. It is about recognizing that your consciousness, your awareness of being, is the only reality, and that a profound shift in this awareness can and will transform your entire world. Let us delve deeper into this profound truth. Your outer world, every experience you have, every circumstance you encounter, is nothing more than a reflection of your inner world, your concept of self. And this concept of self can be radically altered in a single night through the power of your imagination. When you understand this, truly understand it, you realize that by carefully choosing and vividly imagining a new state of being for a single night, you are actively creating a new reality that will unfold in your experience. This understanding is crucial, for it shifts the entire paradigm of how you approach change and transformation. No longer are you a helpless being at the mercy of time and circumstance, hoping for gradual improvement. You become the active creator of your reality, knowing that as you assume a new state of being in your imagination for a single night, the universe must rearrange itself to match this new inner assumption. But how, you may ask, can one night have such a profound and lasting impact? The answer lies in the creative power of your wonderful human imagination, combined with the intensity of your feeling and belief. For your imagination is not a mere fantasy maker, and your feelings are not mere reactions to external stimuli. Together they form the very workshop in which reality is forged. Let us take a moment to truly understand this. Your subconscious mind, which is one with the universal creative force, does not distinguish between what you vividly imagine and feel as true and what you actually experience in the outer world. It accepts as true whatever you feel to be true in your imaginal acts. And once it accepts an idea as true, it proceeds to bring it into manifestation in your physical reality, regardless of how long it takes in clock time. So when you spend a single night wholly absorbed in the feeling of being your ideal self, when you fall asleep in the absolute conviction that you are now the person you desire to be, you are not engaging in wishful thinking or self-deception. You are actively creating your new reality from within. You are aligning yourself with the creative power of the universe, allowing it to work through you and for you. This, my dear listeners, is the essence of how one night can change everything. It is about recognizing that the power to shape your reality lies within you, waiting to be expressed through your conscious imaginal acts. It is about understanding that your outer world is nothing more than a reflection of your inner concept of self, which can be radically altered in a single focused night of imagination. Consider the biblical phrase, "In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, we shall all be changed." This is not a mere poetic expression or a promise of some future event. It is a statement of cosmic law, an invitation to recognize the power of a single moment of transformed consciousness. When you truly embody a new state in your imagination, when you feel this reality with every fiber of your being, you are changed in that very moment. The outer manifestation may take time to catch up, but the inner transformation is instantaneous. But let me be clear, this one night of transformation is not about forced visualizations or strained affirmations. It is about a total immersion in the feeling of being your ideal self. When you truly embody this practice, you naturally assume the thoughts, feelings, and inner conversations of the person you desire to be. You go to sleep not as the person you've always been, but as the person you've always wanted to be. Let us explore this further with an example. Imagine a person who has always struggled with confidence and self-worth. For years, their inner dialogue has been filled with self-doubt and limitation. Now, imagine this person deciding to spend one night fully embodying the state of unshakable confidence and self-assurance. As they lie in bed, they immerse themselves in the feeling of being a confident, worthy individual. They feel the peace, the certainty, the inner strength of someone who truly believes in themselves. They allow this feeling to permeate every cell of their being. They fall asleep in this state, carrying it into their dreams. When they awaken, something has shifted. They may not see immediate external changes, but internally, they are no longer the same person. They have experienced the reality of being confident and worthy, and this new self-concept begins to reshape their outer world. In the days and weeks that follow, they find themselves naturally acting with more confidence. They speak up in situations where they would have previously remained silent. They pursue opportunities they would have once thought beyond their reach. And as they do so, their outer world begins to reflect this new inner state. People respond to them differently. New doors open. Their entire life begins to transform, all stemming from that one night of focused imagination. This principle applies to every aspect of your life. Whether you desire success, love, health, or any other state of being, the key is to spend one night fully embodying that state in your imagination. Feel the reality of being successful, loved, healthy. Fall asleep in that state, knowing that as you do so, you are planting a seed in the fertile soil of your subconscious mind that must grow into your outer reality. Now, I can hear some of you thinking, but Neville, can one night really make such a difference? Surely lasting change requires more time and effort. And to this I say, time is an illusion of the physical world. In the realm of consciousness where all creation takes place, there is only the eternal now. One night of fully embodying a new state can indeed reshape your entire future. for it plants a seed of a new self-concept that will inevitably grow into manifestation. Remember, the outer world is dead. It has no life of its own. It is your consciousness, your concept of self, that gives life to your experiences. When you spend one night fully embodying a new state of being, you are breathing life into a new reality. You are setting in motion a series of events that must culminate in the outer expression of this new inner state. This, my dear friends, is the true secret to how one night can change everything. It is about aligning your entire being with a new concept of self, recognizing that this new self is seeking expression through you, and allowing it to flow into your experience through the power of your focused imagination and unwavering belief. But let me warn you, this one night of transformation is not always an easy task. The old habits of thought and feeling, the familiar self-concept you've held for so long, may try to reassert themselves. As you lie in bed, attempting to embody your new, ideal state, doubts may creep in. The voice of your old self may try to convince you that change is impossible, that you're fooling yourself. When this happens, do not fight against these thoughts. Simply observe them, acknowledge them, and then gently return to the feeling of your new desired state of being. For the war is not won by battling against what you don't want to be, but by persistently embodying what you do want to be. This persistence, this unwavering commitment to maintaining your new state of being throughout the night, in the face of doubts and contrary evidence, is what allows you to truly change your life in a single night. Think of it like tuning a radio. When you're trying to listen to a particular station, you don't focus on eliminating all the other stations. You simply tune into the frequency you desire. In the same way, you don't need to fight against your current reality or forcefully push away doubts and fears. You simply need to tune yourself to the frequency of your desired state of being to align your entire consciousness with the person you wish to become. This tuning is done through your focused imagination and your ability to generate and maintain the feeling of your desired state. Your imagination is the dial that allows you to tune into different frequencies of experience. As you use your imagination to fully embody your ideal state, as you feel the reality of being this new version of yourself, you are tuning yourself to that frequency, allowing the corresponding experiences to flow into your life. But remember, my friends, while the inner transformation can occur in a single night, the full manifestation of this change in your outer world may take time. The seed planted in one night of focused imagination will grow, but it must go through its natural stages of development. Do not be discouraged if you do not see immediate, dramatic changes in your external circumstances. Know that the moment you succeeded in fully embodying your new state, even for that one night, change became inevitable. As you persist in maintaining this new state in your daily life, you will find that your perception of yourself and your world begins to shift. What once seemed like limitations now appear as opportunities for growth. Challenges become stepping stones to success. You begin to see yourself as the empowered, ideal being you imagined yourself to be on that transformative night. Now, some of you may be wondering, but Neville, how can I ensure that I maintain this new state beyond that one night? How can I prevent falling back into old patterns? And to this I say the power of that one night lies not just in the intensity of the experience, but in the knowing it brings. Once you have experienced the reality of your ideal state, even if only in your imagination, you have tasted the truth of your divine nature. This knowing becomes an anchor, a reference point to which you can always return. In the days and weeks that follow your transformative night, you may face moments of doubt or challenge. In these moments, recall the feeling of that night. Remember the reality of being your ideal self. Let that memory, that knowing, guide you back to your new state of being. For having experienced it once, you can experience it again and again, each time strengthening your new self-concept. The key is to make your imaginal experience as real and vivid as possible. Engage all your senses. As you lie in bed preparing for your night of transformation, see yourself as the person you desire to be. Hear the congratulations and admiration of others. Feel the confidence, the joy, the fulfillment of being this ideal version of yourself. Make it so real that your rational mind cannot distinguish between this imaginal act and physical reality. But here's a crucial point, my friends. The goal is not to imagine specific events or circumstances. The goal is to embody the essence of your desired state of being. For it is this state of being that is the true attractor of your experiences. Let me illustrate this with an example. Instead of imagining yourself receiving a specific job offer or a particular sum of money, embody the state of being successful and financially abundant. Feel the security, the freedom, the joy that comes with this state. Instead of picturing a specific romantic partner, embody the state of being deeply loved and in a fulfilling relationship. Feel the love, the connection, the happiness of this state. By focusing on the state of being rather than specific outcomes, you allow the universe to bring your desires to you in ways that might far exceed your specific imaginings. You open yourself to possibilities beyond what your current mindset can conceive. This is the true art of transformation in a single night. It's not about forcing yourself to believe something against all evidence. It's about aligning your entire being with the truth of your divine nature, your oneness with the creative power of the universe. It's about spending one night fully embodying the highest vision of who you truly are. As you practice this, you may find that your outer world begins to shift in subtle ways. Perhaps you start to feel more confident and empowered. Or you find yourself naturally making choices that align with your new self-concept. Or opportunities that resonate with your new state of being seem to appear out of nowhere. These are all signs that your inner transformation, initiated in that one powerful night, is creating ripples in your outer reality. Don't discount these small changes. Celebrate them. See them as confirmation that the law is working, that your night of transformation has taken root. But don't become attached to them or anxiously look for them. Simply acknowledge them with gratitude and continue to live from your new state of being. As you persist in this practice, larger changes will begin to manifest. You may find yourself naturally attracting experiences that align with your new self-concept. You may notice that your relationships improve, that your career takes off, that your health flourishes. And as you continue to maintain the state you embodied on that transformative night, you'll discover that life becomes an exciting adventure of ever-expanding possibilities. But remember, the outer manifestation is not the goal. The goal is the state of being from which all desired experiences naturally flow. This is a crucial point, my friends. When you've truly transformed in that one night, when you're fully living from your new state of being, you no longer need external circumstances to confirm your transformation. You're already whole, already complete in your knowing that you are the person you've imagined yourself to be. And paradoxically, it's in this state of inner assurance that you're most likely to experience a life that reflects your ideal self-concept. Now, some of you might be thinking, but Neville, what about action? Don't we need to do things in the physical world to bring about change? And to this I say, yes, action is part of the process. But it's inspired action, not anxious doing. When you've spent a night fully embodying your ideal state, ideas and opportunities will naturally present themselves to you. You'll feel inspired to take certain actions, to move in certain directions. These actions won't feel like struggle or effort. They'll feel natural, joyful, almost effortless. They will be the natural outgrowth of your new state of being. This is the difference between trying to make change happen and allowing it to happen. When you're trying to force transformation, actions feel stressful, born out of fear and doubt. When you've truly embodied a new state of being, actions flow naturally from your aligned state, guided by an inner wisdom that knows exactly how to bring about the manifestation of your transformation. Consider the example of a caterpillar transforming into a butterfly. The caterpillar doesn't strain to become a butterfly. It doesn't force itself to grow wings. It simply enters the cocoon and allows the transformation to occur. You, my dear listeners, are no different. When you enter the cocoon of your imagination for that one transformative night, embodying your ideal state, you allow your transformation to unfold naturally and beautifully, expressing the infinite potential that is your birthright. But let me be clear, this state of allowing is not passive. It requires an active use of your imagination, a deliberate and focused embodiment of your ideal state. It requires faith, not blind faith in external circumstances, but faith in the creative power of your consciousness and your ability to transform in a single night. This faith is not about believing that change will come someday in the future. It's about knowing that the change has already occurred in that one night of transformation, and that your outer world must inevitably conform to this new inner reality. As you cultivate this faith, as you persist in living from the state you embodied in that one night, you'll begin to see evidence of your transformation manifesting in your outer world. These signs may start small. A newfound confidence in a situation that would have previously intimidated you, a flash of insight that leads to a breakthrough, an unexpected opportunity that aligns perfectly with your new self-concept. Do not discount these signs, no matter how small they may seem, for they are confirmation that your inner transformation initiated in that one powerful night is indeed shaping your outer reality. They are breadcrumbs leading you to the full realization of the transformed life you have created. As we near the conclusion of our discussion, I want to address a common concern that arises when people first encounter this teaching. Many worry that focusing on personal transformation in this way might somehow make them selfish or disconnected from others. But I assure you, my friends, the opposite is true. When you truly understand the principle of transformation through focused imagination, you realize that you are not separate from others. As you elevate your own consciousness through your imaginal acts, you are elevating the consciousness of all. Your personal transformation, far from disconnecting you from others, actually expands the field of possibilities for all. Moreover, when you are coming from a place of being your ideal self, you naturally have more to give to others. You become a beacon of possibility, a living example of the power of consciousness to reshape reality. Your transformation creates a ripple effect, touching the lives of everyone you encounter with your newfound energy, confidence, and joy. This is the true gift of transforming yourself in a single night. It's not just about improving your individual circumstances, although that will happen. It's about aligning yourself with the fundamental nature of the universe, which is boundless potential and perpetual creation. It's about recognizing your own divine nature and allowing it to express itself fully through you. In this state of alignment, of living from the transformation you experienced in that one powerful night, you become a channel for the most beautiful expressions of life. Ideas flow to you effortlessly. Opportunities present themselves naturally. The right people and circumstances appear in your life at the perfect time. This is the magic of living from your transformed state of being. But remember, this magic is not something external to you. It's not some cosmic force that you need to appease or manipulate. It is the natural expression of your own consciousness when it's aligned with the truth of your being. You are the power. You are the magic. You are the one who has transformed yourself in that single, focused night of imagination. As we draw our time together to a close, I want to leave you with a final thought. The principle we've explored tonight, just one night, and you will never be the same again, is not just a technique for personal change. It's about recognizing your true nature as a divine, creative being. It's about aligning your entire being with the fundamental truth of who you are and allowing your grandest expression to flow through you. When you live from this understanding, everything changes. The world becomes a friendly place filled with infinite possibilities. You no longer see yourself as a small, separate being struggling to change. Instead, you recognize yourself as the author of your own transformation, the creator of your own reality. In this state, there's no need to fear change or doubt your ability to transform, for you understand that you are the source of all transformation. Your job is simply to enter that state of focused imagination for one night, to live from that transformed consciousness, and to allow the universe to arrange the details of its manifestation. So, my dear friends, as you leave here tonight, I urge you to embrace this principle with all your heart. Don't see it as a technique to be applied occasionally, but as a way of life to be lived continuously. Use your mighty imagination to immerse yourself fully in your ideal state of being. Feel the naturalness of being the transformed, empowered being you truly are. Live from this state, persist in this knowing, and watch as your world rearranges itself to match your inner transformation. Remember, you are not a limited being struggling to change. You are the infinite consciousness, choosing to experience transformation from this particular vantage point. Your focused night of imagination is the tool through which you shape your experience. Use it wisely with the awareness of your true nature and the responsibility that comes with it. Go forth and create the transformed, fulfilling life that is your birthright, knowing that with each night spent in focused imagination of your ideal state, you are aligning more fully with the truth of your divine limitless nature. Just one night can indeed change everything, for in that night, you remember who you truly are and set in motion the unfolding of your highest potential. Finally, I encourage you to approach this night of transformation with joy and anticipation. For you are not forcing change, but allowing your true self to emerge. You are not becoming someone new, but remembering who you have always been beneath the layers of limiting beliefs and old habits. In that one powerful night, you reclaim your divine birthright and step into the fullness of your being. And truly, after such a night, you will never be the same again. Many of you come here night after night, seeking that which you believe is outside of yourself. You seek techniques, methods, and formulas to manifest your desires. Yet I tell you, the greatest technique ever revealed to man is the technique of silence. Not a silence imposed from without, but a silence that rises from within, when the mind becomes aware of itself as the only reality. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. This logos is your own wonderful human imagination. It is the God in you that has been speaking worlds into being from the foundation of time. And this God, this divine creative power, operates most effectively in the silence of your own consciousness. When the human mind is noisy with the chatter of doubt, fear, and limitation, the voice of God, which is your own inner voice, cannot be heard. It is drowned out by the tumult of your surface thinking. But when you learn to still these outer waves of thought, to quiet the mind to its very depths, then you begin to hear that still, small voice that speaks with the authority of the universe. I tell you, God is not interested in your endless affirmations and your constant speaking. God wants you to be silent. For it is in silence that revelation comes. It is in silence that the seed of your desire takes root in the fertile soil of consciousness. It is in silence that the invisible becomes visible and the unmanifest becomes manifest. Now let me share with you a principle that has transformed countless lives, including my own. The principle is this: your consciousness is the one and only reality. Everything that now exists in your world was once only an idea in your consciousness. It had no reality outside of your awareness of it. And everything that will ever exist in your world must first be an idea, a seed planted in the rich soil of your consciousness. But here is the secret that few understand. This seed must be planted in silence. Just as a farmer does not dig up his seeds every day to see if they are growing, you must not constantly disturb your mental seeds with doubt, anxiety, and endless chatter. You must plant them in the silence of absolute faith and leave them to the perfect law that governs all creation. I have told you time and again that imagination creates reality. But tonight I wish to emphasize that imagination works most powerfully in the silence of complete acceptance. When you can be still and know, truly know, that your imagination is God, then you have discovered the secret of secrets. The Bible tells us that on the seventh day, God rested from all his work. This seventh day is not a period of time, but a state of consciousness. It is that state of silent knowing, of complete mental rest, where you no longer labor to make your desires come to pass, because you know they are already yours in the invisible realm of causation. Let me illustrate this principle with a simple example from my own experience. Many years ago, I desired to travel to Barbados to visit my family, but I had no money for the journey. Instead of fretting and struggling and talking endlessly about my problem, I entered the silence. In that silence, I constructed a scene that implied my wish was fulfilled. I imagined myself walking up the gangplank, feeling the rolled up ship's papers in my pocket, smelling the salt air, and hearing the voices of my family welcoming me home. I did not do this once, and then spend my days worrying about how it would happen. No, I entered the silence night after night, dwelling in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, until that feeling became more real to me than my physical surroundings. And then, through a series of events that no one could have planned or predicted, the means to make the journey materialized in my world. But it came not through my effort or my planning, but through the effortless working of the law that operates in the silence of complete faith. You see, the outer world is nothing more than the outpicturing of your inner conversations. Your mental conversations are far more powerful than your spoken words. And in the silence of absolute conviction, these mental conversations shape the substance of your reality with an authority that no spoken word could ever possess. Now, someone might ask, but Neville, doesn't God want us to pray? And isn't prayer a form of talking to God? Yes, but true prayer is not what most people think it is. True prayer is not begging or pleading with a God outside yourself. True prayer is the feeling of gratitude and thankfulness that comes when you know your desire is already yours. It is the silence of fulfillment, not the noise of want. When Jesus said, when you pray, go into your room and shut the door and pray to your Father who is in secret, he was telling you to enter the silence of your own consciousness, to shut out the evidence of the senses, and to commune with the God within you who sees in secret and rewards you openly. This is the true meaning of prayer, not endless talking, but silent knowing. I tell you, God wants you to be silent, not just with your lips, but with your doubting mind, with your anxious heart, with your fearful emotions. For in that perfect silence, the power that created worlds finds unobstructed expression through you. The great mystics and seers of all ages have discovered this truth. They did not accomplish their mighty works through ceaseless activity or constant affirmation. They accomplished them through the power of silence, a silence so profound that in it they became one with the source of all being. And in that oneness, they discovered they could speak with the authority of God himself, and the elements of nature would obey. Now let us go deeper into this mystery of silence. There are different levels of silence, just as there are different levels of consciousness. There is the silence of the lips, which is merely the absence of speech. This is the most superficial form of silence, and by itself has little transformative power. Then there's the silence of the mind, where the constant chatter of thoughts subsides and you enter a state of mental quietude. This is a deeper form of silence, and is the beginning of true meditation. But beyond this is the silence of desire, where all wanting ceases because you know that you already possess what you seek. This is the silence that Jesus spoke of when he said, therefore I tell you, whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours. This is not a silence of emptiness, but a silence filled with the absolute conviction of fulfillment. And finally, there is the silence of being, where you transcend all sense of separate selfhood and know yourself as one with the divine creative power that sustains the universe. This is the silence where miracles are born, where the impossible becomes possible, where the word becomes flesh. I want to emphasize that this silence is not a passive state. It is the most active, most powerful state you can enter. For in this silence, you are aligned with the creative forces of the cosmos. You are at the center of creation, speaking worlds into being through the silent authority of your own I am. Now someone might say, but Neville, the world is full of noise and distraction. How can I find this silence in the midst of my daily life? The answer is that you must make time for silence, just as you make time for any other important activity. You must set aside periods each day when you withdraw from the world of the senses and enter the kingdom within. For some of you, this might mean rising before dawn when the world is still asleep. For others, it might mean finding a quiet corner during your lunch break. For still others, it might mean the moments before sleep, when the conscious mind begins to surrender to the subconscious. The time and place are not important. What matters is that you establish a regular practice of silence, a holy habit of entering the secret place of the Most High. But remember, the goal is not just to experience silence during these special times. The goal is to carry the silence with you throughout your day, to live from the quiet center of your being, even as you engage with the noisy world around you. This is what it means to pray without ceasing, to maintain that inner connection with the God of silence, no matter what is happening in your external environment. Let me share another principle with you, one that is intimately connected with the power of silence. The principle is this: consciousness is the only reality. Everything else, the entire world of form and phenomena, is simply consciousness objectified. Your body, your bank account, your relationships, your circumstances, all of these are states of consciousness made visible. Now, if consciousness is the only reality, and if the world is simply consciousness objectified, then it follows that the most effective way to change your world is to change your consciousness. And the most powerful way to change your consciousness is through the silence of assumption. In the silence of your own being, you can assume any state you desire. You can feel yourself to be the person you wish to be, to have the things you wish to have, to experience the circumstances you wish to experience. And if you can maintain this assumption until it takes on the tone of reality, which it will do in the silence of complete acceptance, then your outer world must reshape itself to match your inner conviction. This is not positive thinking or wishful thinking. This is the creative use of the only true causative substance in the universe, consciousness itself. This is the art of conscious assumption, which is the secret of all successful manifestation. But remember, assumption only works in silence. If you assume you are wealthy today and then spend tomorrow talking about your bills and your lack, you have nullified your assumption with the noise of contradiction. If you assume you are healthy and then continually discuss your symptoms with others, you have drowned out the silence of healing with the clamor of complaint. This is why God wants you to be silent. Not to deprive you of expression, but to empower your expression with the force of unshakable conviction. For what you proclaim in silence, in the depths of your consciousness, will always carry more creative power than what you proclaim with your lips. Now I know some of you may be thinking, but Neville, I have tried to be silent. I have tried to assume my wish fulfilled. And yet nothing has changed in my world. To you, I say, check your silence. Is it truly the silence of knowing? Or is it merely the silence of hoping? For there is a world of difference between the two. The silence of hoping says, I am assuming my desire is fulfilled, and I hope it will materialize in my world. This is not true silence, for it contains within it the noise of doubt and uncertainty. The silence of knowing says, I am what I have assumed myself to be, and the outer world has no choice but to reflect my assumption. This is the silence that moves mountains. Remember the words of Job, you will decree a thing, and it will be established unto you. But this decree is not made with the lips, or even with the conscious mind. It is made in the silence of complete acceptance, where your wish is fulfilled not as a future possibility, but as a present fact. Let me tell you a story that illustrates this principle. A woman came to me some years ago in dire financial straits. She had lost her job, her savings were depleted, and she faced eviction from her apartment. She had tried everything, applying for jobs, borrowing from friends, even praying in the conventional sense, but nothing had worked. I told her, the solution to your problem is silence. Not the silence of inaction, but the silence of absolute knowing. I instructed her to construct a scene that would imply her financial problems were solved. In her case, it was a scene where she was telling a friend how wonderfully things had turned around, how she now had more than enough money to meet all her needs. I told her to enter this scene each night as she fell asleep, to feel its reality, to hear the words coming from her own lips, to see the joy on her friend's face. But I also gave her a stern warning. During the day, be silent about your problem. Do not discuss it. Do not complain about it. Do not even think about it if you can help it. Maintain the silence of one who knows their prayer is already answered. She followed this advice faithfully, and within 2 weeks, she received an unexpected check in the mail, a tax refund she had forgotten about, plus interest, which was almost exactly the amount she needed to stabilize her situation. Shortly thereafter, she was offered a job that paid significantly more than the one she had lost. When she came back to tell me what had happened, I reminded her, it was not your action that created this change. It was your silence. The silence of one who knows the law and trusts it completely. This story is not unique. I could tell you hundreds like it from my own experiences, from the experiences of those who have applied this principle of silence. The law works with mathematical precision when it is not interfered with by the noise of doubt and contradiction. Now let us explore another aspect of this power of silence. The Bible tells us that in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was over the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. And God said, let there be light, and there was light. Notice the sequence here. Before God spoke the creative word, there was formlessness, void, and darkness. This represents the silence that precedes all creation. It is the still point, the zero state, the empty canvas upon which the divine artist paints the masterpiece of manifestation. In your own life, before you can speak your word with power, before you can effectively assume the state of your wish fulfilled, you must enter this same silence. You must become empty of all preconceptions, free of all anxiety about results, void of all attachment to methods and means. Only in this silence can the Spirit of God, your own wonderful human imagination, hover over the waters of your consciousness and bring forth the light of new creation. This is why meditation, contemplation, and all forms of mental stillness have been practiced by the wise throughout the ages. They understood that silence is not just the absence of noise, but the presence of unlimited potential. They knew that in silence, the finite mind makes contact with the infinite mind, and in that contact, all things become possible. I tell you, God wants you to be silent, because it is only in silence that you can hear the voice of God. And the voice of God is not some external authority telling you what to do. The voice of God is the still small voice within you that says, I am. It is the voice of your own divine identity, your own unconditioned awareness, speaking with the authority of the universe itself. When you say I am, and really feel the depth and power of those words, you are speaking as God. For I am is the name of God, the only name by which the absolute reveals itself in the relative world. And when you add to I am any quality, characteristic, or condition, you are determining the form that the formless will take in your experience. If you say I am poor, or I am sick, or I am unlucky, you are using the creative power of God to manifest those very conditions in your life. But if you say I am wealthy, or I am healthy, or I am blessed, and say it in the silence of absolute conviction, you are using the same power to manifest very different conditions. But here is a subtle point that many miss. The most powerful use of I am comes not in constant affirmation, but in the silence of simply being. When you can be still and know that I am is God, when you can rest in the pure awareness of your own existence without qualification or limitation, you have discovered the creative center of the universe within yourself. From this center, you can speak worlds into being, not with the noise of many words, but with the silence of pure consciousness. For the word that creates is not the word of human language, but the wordless word of divine intention, held steady in the silence of unwavering faith. Now let us discuss a practical application of this principle of silence. Many of you come to me with specific desires, for wealth, for health, for love, for success in your chosen field. And you want techniques, methods, specific steps to follow. While I have given many such techniques over the years, tonight I wish to give you the master technique, the one from which all others derive their power. The technique is this: enter the silence of your own being, and from that silence assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Do not ask how it will be fulfilled. Do not worry about the steps that will lead to its fulfillment. Simply enter the silence of the end, the silence of completion, the silence of the wish fulfilled. If you desire wealth, enter the silence of being wealthy. Feel the ease, the freedom, the generosity that wealth would give you. See the world through the eyes of one who is abundantly supplied in all ways. Touch the objects that wealth would enable you to touch. Hear the words that wealth would enable you to hear. Become in consciousness the wealthy individual you desire to be. But if this is crucial, do this in silence. Do not brag about your imaginal wealth. Do not tell others about the techniques you are practicing. Do not anxiously look for signs that it is working. Simply live from the silent conviction that you are now what you have imagined yourself to be, and let the outer world reshape itself accordingly. The same principle applies to any other desire. If you seek perfect health, enter the silence of being perfectly healthy. If you long for a loving relationship, enter the silence of being deeply loved. If you aspire to professional success, enter the silence of having already achieved it. In each case, the key is the same: the silence of absolute assumption. This silence must be maintained not just during your specific periods of meditation or imagination, but as much as possible throughout your day. This does not mean you cannot speak or interact with others. It means that in your heart, in the core of your being, you maintain the silent knowing that your desire is already fulfilled. When others speak to you of their problems, listen with compassion, but do not inwardly accept their limitations as your own. When circumstances seem to contradict your assumption, observe them, but do not inwardly grant them the power to shake your conviction. When doubts arise in your own mind, acknowledge them, but do not let them disturb the deeper silence of your unwavering faith. This is the silence that Jesus maintained even as he was being crucified. This is the silence that allowed him to say, "Forgive them, for they know not what they do." He did not see death as real because in the silence of his own being, he knew himself to be eternal life. And because he maintained this silence even in the face of apparent destruction, he was able to demonstrate the resurrection that is the birthright of every child of God. You too can achieve what the world would call miracles if you will only learn to be silent in the way I have described. For miracles are not violations of natural law, but the operation of a higher law, the law of consciousness which supersedes all lesser laws when it is applied in silence and faith. Now, I know that for many of you, maintaining this silence is difficult. The world is full of evidence that seems to contradict your assumptions, your own senses, your own memory, your own habitual thinking. All seem to argue against the reality of your imagined state. This is why the practice of silence must be cultivated, developed, strengthened through regular use. Start with small things. Assume a state that is not too far removed from your present experience and practice maintaining the silence of that assumption until it manifests. As your confidence grows, as your understanding of the law deepens, you can apply the same principle to larger, more significant changes. But always remember, the power is not in the size of your desire, but in the depth of your silence. A small desire assumed in perfect silence will manifest more quickly and more perfectly than a large desire held with doubt and anxiety. Master the art of silence with the little things, and the big things will take care of themselves. Let me emphasize another aspect of this silence that is often overlooked. The silence I am speaking of is not a passive, inactive state. It is not about doing nothing in the outer world. You should continue to take the actions that your position in life requires. If you have a job, perform it to the best of your ability. If you have responsibilities, fulfill them conscientiously. If opportunities present themselves, explore them with enthusiasm. The silence is in your consciousness, in your inner conviction, in your mental and emotional attitude toward yourself and your world. It is perfectly possible, indeed, it is essential to combine outer activity with inner silence. This is what Jesus meant when he advised us to render unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and unto God the things that are God's. Caesar represents the world of effects, the outer realm of form and circumstance. God represents the world of causes, the inner realm of consciousness and imagination. By maintaining silence in the realm of causes, by knowing without doubt or contradiction that you are what you have imagined yourself to be, you imbue your actions in the realm of effects with transformative power. This is why two people can perform exactly the same actions and get completely different results. One acts from the noise of anxiety and limitation, while the other acts from the silence of confidence and fulfillment. Though their outer movements may be identical, the consciousness behind those movements is worlds apart, and the results reflect this difference. Now, someone might ask, but Neville, if God wants me to be silent, why do you speak? Why do you give lectures and write books? Isn't this a contradiction? The answer is that my speaking comes from silence. It is not the noise of personal opinion or intellectual speculation. It is the overflow of that deeper silence where I know myself to be one with the divine creative power. And I speak not to convince you through argument, but to awaken in you the memory of what you already know in the silence of your own being. For you see, you are God, not in some abstract metaphorical sense, but in the most literal, most immediate way possible. The I am consciousness that reads these words right now is the same I am that spoke light into existence at the dawn of creation. It is the same I am that parted the Red Sea, that stopped the sun in Gibeon, that raised the dead and healed the sick through the body of Jesus. The only difference between you and these manifestations of divine power is that they knew their true identity in the silence of absolute conviction, while you have forgotten yours in the noise of sensory evidence and social conditioning. My purpose in speaking is not to give you something you lack, but to remind you of something you already possess, the power of silence, the power of I am, the power of God himself expressing through your own wonderful human imagination. When you truly grasp this truth, not intellectually but in the silence of your own being, you will understand why God wants you to be silent. It is not to diminish your expression, but to ensure that when you do express, you do so with the authority of one who knows they are speaking as God. For only words born in silence carry the power to create worlds. Let me share one more principle with you before we conclude tonight's discussion. The principle is this: the state of consciousness from which you view the world determines what you see and experience in the world. If you view the world from a state of lack, you will see evidence of lack everywhere. If you view it from a state of abundance, you will see evidence of abundance everywhere. The world itself does not change, but your perception of it, and consequently your experience of it, changes completely. This is why it is so important to enter the silence of the wish fulfilled. For in that silence you have your world not as it appears to be, but as it must become to match a new state of consciousness. And since consciousness is the only reality, the world has no choice but to rearrange itself to reflect your silent assumption. Remember the words of William Blake: If the doors of perception were cleansed, everything would appear to man as it is, infinite. The silence I am speaking of cleanses the doors of perception. It removes the dust and grime of leading beliefs, fearful projections, and past disappointments, allowing you to see the infinite potential that has always been there. In this cleansed perception, you recognize that nothing is impossible, nothing is fixed or final, nothing is beyond the reach of your silent assumption. You see that the entire universe is fluid, responsive, alive with the same consciousness that beats in your own heart and thinks in your own mind. And in this recognition, you are free to create, free to express, free to become whatever you can conceive and believe in the silence of your own being. So tonight, I urge you to practice the power of silence, not as a technique to get things, but as a way of being that naturally attracts and creates the life you desire. Enter the silence of your own consciousness, and from that silence, assume a feeling of your wish fulfilled. Maintain this assumption not through constant effort or ceaseless affirmation, but through the quiet confidence of one who knows the law and trusts it implicitly. God wants you to be silent, because in silence you are most like God. In silence you create as God creates, not through labor and struggle, but through the effortless expression of your own divine nature. In silence you discover that you are not a helpless creature in a vast, indifferent universe, but the very source and substance of that universe, expressing itself in human form for the joy of creation. So be still and know that I am is God. Be silent and let the power that created worlds work through you to create the life you have imagined. For in the perfect silence of absolute assumption, all things are possible, and the word becomes flesh before your very eyes. Remember, in quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Not in noise, not in many words, not in ceaseless activity, but in the profound silence of knowing, really knowing that you are what you have imagined yourself to be. This is the secret of secrets, the mystery of mysteries, the power of powers. And now as you leave here tonight and return to your daily lives, carry this silence with you. Let it be your constant companion, your trusted guide, your unshakable foundation. For the one who has discovered the power of silence has discovered the power that moves worlds, the power that transforms lives, the power that turns the word into flesh and dwells among us. The power of silence is the power of God himself, expressing through your own wonderful human imagination. Use it wisely, use it lovingly, use it confidently. And watch as the invisible becomes visible and the impossible becomes possible in ways that no one, including yourself, could ever have planned or predicted. For this is the promise of the ages, the testimony of the prophets, the secret taught by Jesus to his closest disciples. The kingdom of God is within you. And this kingdom is entered not through much speaking, but through the perfect silence of one who knows that I am is the name of God, and that this I am is your own true identity now and forever. Thank you, and good night.